Just a quick thing before I start. Hopefully you've noticed that I am not recording this review with a GoPro strapped to my forehead, and instead using a nice camera and tripod. I'm hoping this is a whole lot better and a lot less motion sickness inducing, so please let me know what you think about this format in the comment boxes below. But enough about that. Today we're looking at the N-Strike Mega Series Bigshock. This is one of the 2015 blasters that's currently making its way into shelves and online. I found this particular one on Amazon.com for $10.99. It is essentially a jolt that fires mega darts. It's even got extra storage up there. Notice it's got an orange trigger right there and a gray trigger right there. That is because this particular one is distributed in Australia by Hasbro Australia, which is weird because I bought this off Amazon.com and it had an orange trigger on the website as well. For those who are not aware, gray trigger versions are from Australia, and they're toned down because of laws over there. They don't shoot as far or as hard, and therefore they're legal to sell over there. And to tell the difference between the two, Hasbro slaps a gray trigger on the Australian versions. So, keep in mind this review is probably not going to be complete, so I'm not really going to consider it a definitive version, but it's a good first peek at a blaster that should be in stores soon. I have seen some posts where people have been finding these online. I checked every store around me, and I could not find crap. But enough about that. Taking the blaster out of the box here. It is, yes, a jolt with a big old handle and a big old priming bar. And yes, it shoots mega darts. You can see that gigantic hole right there. And it comes with two of them. You just kind of slap one in there, and you put the other one up there, and if you're curious, you can actually put it in the other way too, however you feel like putting it in there, and pull that gray trigger. Let's set up the box here, and not bad. Size-wise, it's a little bit bigger than the old Triad there, but it's a heck of a lot cooler looking. I don't know what the heck this thing's supposed to be, some kind of futuristic pepper box. But this guy definitely looks really, really menacing. A lot of the 2015 blasters look amazing, and this is no exception. So the only other thing to do is to compare it to the Magnus, which was the previous smallest thing that shot a mega dart. And man, is it a lot smaller to use the Bigshock than it is to use the Magnus. But how does it compare? Let's find out. So hopefully by the sound of it hitting the box and how far the dart bounced, you can kind of tell that the Magnus does indeed punch harder. That isn't to say that this is a slouch. The gray trigger version, again, if we get an orange trigger version, it should be more powerful, although this box does not claim any ranges whatsoever, should be more powerful. Another thing to note about this is that, unlike the Jolt and the Triad, where you just unscrew 4 screws and pull out the entire plunger system, this guy has screws on the side. So in order to crack open this blaster, you'd have to take out all these screws and separate the halves. But this orange piece right here does not have a seam on it. This is obviously solvent-welded onto the blaster, and it prevents us from taking apart the blaster without destroying this piece. I don't plan on cutting this open quite yet. Once I get an orange trigger version, because yes, this blaster is good enough that I will have 2 of them. Until we get that orange trigger version, I'm just going to keep this one nice and safe. But when we get that orange trigger version, I'm going to cut it open. So overall, the ergonomics are pretty decent. This bar does get in the way, but kind of gets in the way on all these other blasters too. I like how this one has like a nice ring part right here, so it feels a little bit better, but the edges are certainly sharper on this. While this is just flat, there's no ergonomics in it, but these edges are much thicker, so it doesn't hurt my hand at all. And yes, one more time, the blaster does look really, really cool. It's got that kind of digital camo thing that Nerf blasters have had recently. But overall, what do I think? Well, I love the gray trigger version so far. It's not super powerful, shoots far enough though, and it's amazingly accurate. It's also nice and comfy, easy to prime, although I do want to try to figure out a way to switch this around to the other direction, so I'm pulling it like this. But it's very, very, very nice, and for 11 bucks, it's a little steep. You can get a double shock or probably even a strong arm for that price. But still, it's really nice, it shoots mega darts, and is a perfect way to get into using mega darts. I personally like mega darts. I've never had an issue with these. I've stepped on them all the time and just mangled them, and they've always flown straight every single time for me, unlike a standard elite dart where if it gets stepped on once, it's practically useless. But I have not used this in a war yet, and hopefully I will soon. Thank you very much for watching, and you have yourself a fantastic day wherever you happen to be.